Hello, welcome on my channel Wolf-Aqua, your channel about horticulture, aquaponics and aquaculture. And in this episode I'm going to show you how I completely reorganized my system of the school aquaponics system, and what I've done there I'm going to show you now in this video, and let's go. So, as I said, in 2015 I reorganized my aquaponics system once again, like every year. This time I divided the system in several loops. The blue loop was running 24/7, it was only for the water treatment of the fish tank. The water was pumped through a UV light into a small solid removal chamber and then drained into my biofilter and then back to the fish. The red loop was running several times a day to exchange water from the fish tank to the sump tank of the plants. And at last, the green loop, it was pumping water from the sump tank to the plants. And from the plants, the water drained back to the sump. Oh, by the way, it would be super motivating for me to make more videos if you subscribe and like my channel. And instead of using a fixed bed biofilter, I tried again to set up a moving bed biofilter. And it worked. As fish, I still had carp from the last season that I brought over the winter time, and they were in pretty good conditions. I did not use any kind of heating, so the season could start. As plants, I used beans, tomatoes, chard, and red and white. And in that year, I pre-grew the plants in rock wool, and most of that got placed into a pipe. The idea was to bring the roots closer to the water. However, the plants were quite deep into the pipe and stretched towards the light, a point that I solved better in the next season. In that year, I tried for the first time to get more nutrients out of my sludge from the fish. In an academic language, I tried to mineralize the fish sludge to bring more nutrients in a dissolved form, or in a form that is available for the plants. I approached the topic of sludge mineralization very simple. I just collected all my wastewater from my small sedimentation chamber and let it sit there in a former rainwater bucket. And luckily for me, the sludge blanket was very thin, so I did not have any floating sludge blankets on top of the water. And this is how my sludge and water looked like after 5 months of ripening. The water got clearer and the measurements showed that the phosphorus concentration was elevated. Nitrate was almost not present, but a lot of ammonium. This is indicating anaerobic processes. About how that all works together, I'll explain in another video about the nitrogen cycle. The clear water of that tank, or let's say the supernatant, I used to fertilize my system, but only in very small quantities at the time to prevent any harm to my fish. In the meantime, the plants developed very nicely. The beans and the chard grew very well. Here you can see a direct comparison between the white and the red chard. The tomatoes grew a bit slower, but had some nice white roots. It's very important to check your crops frequently for pests or any kind of disease. So I highly recommend to check your plants or your crops at least once or twice per week for a few minutes. If you have a hectare, like 10,000 square meters, you should take at least half an hour every week to check your plants. And there, it's very advisable to have a small magnifying glass with you that you really can look very careful at your plants, because as earlier you identify a pest or a fungus or whatever is actually eating from your plants or from your crop, as better you can handle it, or as better you can work against the pest. However, I think it's unlikely that you have a season without any bugs. If so, you are lucky, but usually that's not the case. So also here in that year I had to deal with quite some aphids living on my beans, but I treated them with kind of a neem oil product, and that worked very well. So the aphids pretty fast died off. However, the beans had quite some nice pods, and we harvested a lot of chard. Unfortunately, one of my beans didn't make it. I guess a fungus took over the root system, and that's why the roots look so brown. Here, for comparison, how healthy roots look like from a tomato. Overall, I was happy with the results of that season. The fish were not big enough, in my opinion, to harvest, but that's why I decided to keep them for another winter in my system. That had also the advantage that the whole system, the whole biology keeps living even throughout the winter, and then when you start in the next season, when the temperature's getting higher, you can start right away and you have fish that are hungry and let's go. But again, in the next year, so in the season of 2016, I completely reorganized my aquaponics system once again. But I did that, and that worked out very well. I think so far I brought it there to the best levels that I'd made it. But unfortunately, I also had a very unnice happening during the next season at that aquaponics school system. But what happened there, I'm going to show you in the next episode. If you have any questions or feedback, just post in the comment section below the video. I would be very happy if I can answer you some of those questions. And again, I would be very happy if you subscribe and like my channel. And I hope to see you next time. And stay healthy and bye-bye.